Sitting with me today is Cindy Wirth. She used to be my old biology and environmental science teacher. So I would like it if you would tell us a little bit about why you decided to be a teacher.
So I became a teacher for two reasons. BCSC needed science teachers, and I had a student, my child was in the 8th grade, and they were having trouble finding middle school and high school science teachers. And at the same time, the flood had happened, and we had a small business on Washington Street, and we lost everything in the flood. We lost our entire warehouse, all of our stock, and so after that, we switched careers because we needed to change from what we were doing after losing all that money and do something else. And we didn't have health insurance.
Right.
And at the time, we didn't have the Affordable Care Act, which meant if you didn't have a job, you didn't have health insurance. So teaching was a way for me to help fill a community need, use my background skills, have the same schedule as my kids, and give us all health insurance.
Right.
So we went 2 years without health insurance.
That's scary.
It was.
What you said you lost your inventory. What did you guys have inventory in?
So we were a home furnishings and mattress store. We had 2 locations, one on Washington Street and one in Edinburgh. And our warehouse was right in the middle, and that's where most of our inventory was, and that's what flooded.
Oh.
So we were the 3rd largest stocking Tempur-Pedic dealer in the Midwest.
Oh, that's not good.
Tempur-Pedic mattresses hold a lot of water.
I bet they do.
And when you squeeze it out, it
like a
sucks
sponge.
it back up.
That's not good at all.
So it was a big change, but the good part was I got to have the same schedule as my kids. I got to be back in biology, which I love. I got to be with other kids, and it was so much fun.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what made you love science so much in biology?
I always did, from when I was a little kid. I was a little kid out in the street back in the 70s when you could sit in the street and not get run over. And we lived out in the middle of nowhere. So I would find rocks, and I would get a hammer, and I would open them up and see what was inside the rocks, and see if they had different colors inside. And I was always picking up bugs and bringing them home and finding little, we lived near a cornfield, so there are a lot of mice skeletons. And
right.
I was finding mice skeletons and playing with the corn and taking it apart. And so I've just always been that way. Anything in our house that had a screw in it, when I would find a screwdriver when I was a really little kid, would be taken apart. Yeah, my parents had hide screwdrivers.
So you were like taking apart like the dishwasher and everything?
The telephone, we didn't have a dishwasher.
Oh. Well.
Remember, this is the 70s.
Oh.
The telephone, alarm clocks, anything, chairs, anything I could find. If I saw a screw, I would unscrew it and see how it.
Could you get it back together?
No.
Oh.
But I learned because, then my dad and my brother would have to help me put things back together.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, that's a fun story then.
Yeah.
So how long did you say you've been a teacher? I'm sorry.
So I started teaching in 2009, and I actually started in Spanish because I also have a degree in Spanish, and CSA lost the Spanish teacher mid-year in 2009 in January. So I came in January of 2009 and taught Spanish. And in the meantime, I was in the middle of getting my teaching license in both biology and Spanish. And when I came back, I was the biology teacher.
Right. So then was it kind of like, I know you said you were dealing with the Tempur-Pedic stuff before that. So it was like a whole industry change.
Career change.
Career, everything.
But when we were in furniture and mattresses, there's a significant overlap of science into industry because you have chemicals and you have, we dealt with a lot of solid woods, which is biology. We dealt with companies that owned their own forests. So I was always talking to the forest managers. And as a biologist, that was easier for me to do than just a normal business person who would be going in there. So it was really interesting to switch that. I was one of the founding members of the Sustainable Furniture Council, which is, again, looking at that growth period of how do we keep this going? How do we make sure our resources are going to cover what we need in the future?
That's awesome. Is that I'm not familiar with that. Is that local? Is that
No, that's national.
really?
Yeah,
That's
national.
awesome.
So
That's really
yeah.
cool.
So you can find biology everywhere.
That's really cool. So then, around that time in 2009, how was it, you think, like going into being a teacher? Was it just like a total shift change for you? Was it love at first sight with it?
It was different, but since we were in project-based learning, it was what I wanted it to be, because I got to design my own classes, my own curriculum. I had things that I needed to cover and standards to follow, but I could figure out what kind of projects that I thought would be good for students based on my real world experience.
Right.
So what is the real world? What's it like out there? I knew what it was like out there. So I think it was easier for me to make that transition into the classroom because I had 20 years of real world experience that I could bring in and then bring that biology back to it.
That's awesome.
I hope so anyway.
I thought you were a good teacher. Like, I struggled in school a lot, so if I think you were a good teacher, then it probably means that you
thank you.
were. Has to mean something, I think. So, do you think that project-based learning is like the way of the future? Or would you say it's like for a select few people? Like, what would you say with it?
I think it depends on what your philosophy of education is. So if your philosophy of education is that you need to perform on standardized tests to meet certain benchmarks of certain higher institutions that you want to be able to get into, and they have certain criteria on those tests, that's a whole different way of looking at education. Project-based learning is more practical, more skills application. You get the theory with the application, whereas sometimes the standardized testing route where you're going to school to take tests to keep moving through different levels, then you may not have as good of an experience with the practice and the application of those theories and skills and content areas. So I think it's not just the future, but also the past, because I just finished my doctorate in cultural and educational policy.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. That is looking at education philosophically and through the continuum of how we started in public education in the United States. And we've had elements of project-based learning before. It's nothing new, but it's new to this generation and new to us. But that's how we all learned initially.
Right.
So packaging it the way that we packaged it at CSA New Tech was revolutionary in the way that in today's world we haven't seen it in that way. The interesting thing is, kids who graduate from project-based learning schools do better on standardized tests.
I don't know about that. I did not do very hot on them.
Not everybody all the time, but not everybody's a test taker either.
That's right.
So, and the good thing about project-based learning is you don't have to be a good test taker because that's not the focus.
That's right.
And what did I have you do with your standardized test scores? Do you remember?
I don't remember. No, it's been.
We went to the shredder.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that now?
Yeah, I do. I do remember that.
And do you remember why we went to the shredder?
I don't remember. What was it?
Because students aren't their test scores. Students are humans.
I wish I remembered that more often.
So when we reduce students to test scores, that's where my PhD in cultural and educational policy is, because we have reduced students to test scores overwhelmingly across the nation. And it doesn't serve all students well to do that, but it does serve all students well to remember that they're humans and that they are capable of learning at whatever level they're at. And that's the important part of school and learning.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree with that. So I do have two questions. So my first one is, what are your thoughts exactly about standardized testing? Like, what would you say? Like, do you think that they serve a greater purpose, or do you think that they are just a stress on the student for no reason?
I think they serve the testing companies.
Right.
It's
And
a
so,
massive profit center at the expense of students. Teachers in the classroom know every single one of their students. They know how their students perform. They know what level their students are at, whether you're in kindergarten or whether you're in 12th grade. Every teacher knows where every student is at. And if we gave teachers more autonomy in the classroom, instead of giving that to standardized tests, then I think we would find that our evaluations of students would be much more true.
right.
And that's what you experienced, because we assessed, as your teachers, we assessed you based on what we were seeing your performance in the classroom.
Right.
Instead of just giving you a standardized test and saying, well, I hope you remember.
Yeah. So what did you think of ECAs, like end of course assessments? Like, did you like, I know that we did a biology one and everything. Like, do you think that ECAs and standardized testing, are those like par and par? They're the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Essentially. I think there's kids that are really good at taking standardized tests, and a lot of that is sociocultural. Sometimes it's just a function of the student's personality. I don't think it's a real reflective measure of what a student knows and what a student can do.
Right.
And I think a lot of anxiety gets in the way of testing, and there's really no way to mitigate that. There's people with different brain structures who might sit it with a standardized test, and for 15 minutes out of the 30 that you get, be so focused on filling in the bubbles and figuring out that they missed something, or they'll start thinking about a question and they'll think about that question for like 11 minutes, and then they have like 20 minutes to do the whole rest of the test. So this is why I think standardized testing can be not the best solution for everybody across the board. But again, teachers are professionals. Teachers, because I had a degree, but I had to go back and get more education to be able to teach effectively.
Right.
Because it is a profession.
Right. I feel like that job always is just updating.
And you have to update a lot because things change. Society changes, students change, what we know about students' brains change.
Right.
And you have to keep up on all that. So I do really think that teacher autonomy and knowing their students is the best way. People will say, though, yes, but a teacher can just pass a student even if they didn't. Except for if you know teachers. Teachers are going to work with that student until they get it. And my oldest is now a kindergarten teacher.
Really?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
So, and that's
starting a new family business.
That's a big job. I couldn't teach kindergarten. No way.
That would be a lot.
No way. Yeah.
Well, that's exciting for them.
I liked high school.
I did not.
Well, when I was a student there, that's another story. So I tried to make my classroom the kind of place I would have wanted to be as a student who didn't like high school. I was good at high school, but I didn't like it, and I couldn't wait to get out of it.
You did a really good job of that, like making your classroom inviting and having just always feeling like you were on the student side instead of feeling like it was very much like, this is who pays me, so I need to make sure that this person is always a lot more. Like, it would always feel like you were on the student side, which is nice. Because in my experience with school, it felt more of like a battlefield than a place of learning. Yeah. So
I was lucky that when I grew up, our teachers were all like that with us through middle school. Like we were part of them, like we were a team. And I think that shifted somewhere. And I think probably somewhere when I was in middle school and high school is a big part of that shift. But I had a lot of teachers still in middle and high school that did have that philosophy. And I think that really did help because I had a role model for it.
Right. I think also with teachers, I think like they don't get paid enough for like the job that they do. Because I think you guys are literally training the next generation.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't think you guys make near enough. And then I think with like people with special needs, I've got dyslexia. I think you knew about that, but I'm not entirely certain. I wish that there would be more locally, like in Columbus, for that. I wish whenever I was little that would have been a little bit better.
Yeah.
I am glad that it's better now.
Yeah.
Because like growing up, I didn't want to have kids because I used to think like having dyslexia was a curse.
It's
And
not, though.
it's not.
It's a gift.
It is a gift.
Yeah.
And so it took lots, hundreds of probably thousands of dollars of therapy to like really start to rewire everything. And I'm still not completely better with it. But
Yeah.
I want you to know it's like teachers like you though that really did help with that. And you did.
Well, my dad is dyslexic,
Oh,
and I am neurodiverse. Did I know that? No. Did I know I was different? Yes. I've always known my dad was dyslexic because when I was a little kid, I would help him spell things for his reports at night. And I didn't know what it was called, but I remember him telling me about his struggles all through school, especially high school. And I think destigmatizing all of that is the key. And I think once we do that, and I think people like me who are finally realizing why I was different, even though I was good at school, I never fit in. Still don't fit in. But I'm okay with it. And I've always been okay with it. But, with my family having dyslexia, and then I married somebody with dyslexia. So, I deal with it every day.
right.
And so in the classroom, it wasn't a big deal for me. I knew what it was. I knew how to help because I had learned it at an early age. Not every teacher has that, and teachers have to learn that. For me, it was just natural. It was just part of life. And I've always known that, you can be really smart. In fact, some of the smartest people I know have dyslexia.
Right.
And I remember when I was a little kid wondering why I couldn't be smart like that, because that's what I thought.
Right. I wish I would have thought like that because that would have saved me a lot of time.
But you're doing this.
Right now, I'm doing this, so
and this helps.
yeah, a little bit, yeah. So we'll see, but I hope it does. I hope it does. What do you wish? So we live in Columbus, right? So is there anything about Columbus like you wish that we'd had more of around here, like to do with teaching? Like, do you wish that our community would support the teachers more, or do you think that?
I think teachers are not held in as high of esteem as, say, engineers, when in reality, we need teachers as much as we need those engineers.
Yeah.
Because like you said, teachers are training the next generation. And if we have an educated population, we have a better quality of life all around for every one of us. And what we're seeing with public education is the money is being taken out of it instead of put into it. The more money we put into public education, the better everyone's lives become. When you look back at when compulsory school was started, and that was that mandatory attendance from age 5 to age, I think initially it was 12 or 14. And that was because of farm fields and people going to work. And then that age was gradually extended. When that shifted, our society got better. We got healthier. We had better infrastructure. We had, people able to go do more things. We had child labor laws. And I think that's the key to a successful community.
Right.
Is that educational piece. So yes, we need to pay teachers more. Teachers need more respect. And with that comes that autonomy where teachers are treated as professionals. You were a student when I went to Japan, I think, 2015.
I was.
Yeah. So when I went to Japan, I was the educational ambassador from our school corporation to Miyoshi, Japan.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
And I toured every one of Miyoshi's schools. Every one of them. And it's a different way that they do education there. It's actually part of the city government. And so it's part of the municipality, part of the community that way. And teachers are held in as high a regard as physicians and engineers and any other profession.
Really?
And they're paid accordingly. And so when I showed up there, it was like some celebrity arrived, and it was unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life. Because they recognize that teachers are so critical to the success of the next generation. And I think, we don't have to be like any other country, but we can certainly adopt things that are more positive.
Right. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think the teachers definitely should get recognized more, and they should get paid a lot more because they're doing a lot. And then, I don't know. So do you remember Mr. Martinez?
Mm-hmm.
So he told me, not me, but he told the class that whenever the No Child Left Behind policy got inducted, it created a generation of zombies.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that statement, or would you disagree with that?
I have a nickname for that policy. Every child left behind.
That's fair, yeah.
It really sort of gutted, it was the beginning of gutting public education. And the reason why public education is being gutted is to make room for for-profit education, to make room for for-profit charter schools, those things where there's a few people who are going to get rich off of something that should belong to everyone.
Right.
And I did a lot of studying of that in my first 2 years of my doctoral program. And it is real, and Indiana was one of the test grounds for that under Governor Mike Pence. So what we saw under Mike Pence and the changes that they made through the state legislature that way, and what we're seeing now with the budget cuts in every single school corporation in Indiana through the voucher program, and they package that as parents get a choice, which is sort of true. But those schools don't have to accept every student to take a voucher. Public schools are mandated by law to accept every student. So if you have a special needs student, or if you have a student who needs extra support, who has a disability, or has dyslexia, or has autism, or has dyscalculia, or any number of different ways that their brain thinks, but they might need more time, or all those things that we build into our curriculum in Bartholomew County, charter schools and private schools do not have to take those students.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And so this is the issue that we have with gutting public schools, is we're leaving people out because we're taking that money that would pool together to help support everybody, and we are siphoning it off to private institutions, in some cases, which are religious institutions, which according to our U.S. Constitution, we have a separation of church and state.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court had a strange decision that went around that and said, well, we're not really paying those institutions, we're really paying the parents. But the ultimate fact is that taxpayer money is going to the religious or those private institutions that don't support every child.
That's not right.
So that's why I do what I do now.
Right. Well, I totally get that, and you do a good job at it.
Yeah.
What do you think of homeschooling? Like, what's your thought on that?
I think in some cases it's warranted. And I think if the curriculum is a good, strong curriculum, and the parent has the ability to implement that curriculum in a good way that really serves the student, it can be beneficial. And there's all kinds of reasons why people want to homeschool. And I don't not support that. I mean, I think that's fine. But overwhelmingly, 98%, I think, of the kids in Bartholomew County or in Indiana were going to public schools until we started siphoning off the vouchers. I can't remember what the number is now, but our public schools in the United States are phenomenal, and they always have been. You can always pick something out that's wrong. But you can pick something else that's wrong in a homeschool too.
Right.
So nothing's perfect, but overwhelmingly, I mean, when I toured all those schools in Japan, they wanted to know how we achieved the level of excellence that we did. That was their number one question in 2015.
And then were you like, how did you achieve all this here too?
We taught there. They just couldn't believe we had the level of excellence that we have, and included every single student. And that's what the United States is good at. We are really good at that. We are good at serving every student. And in our classrooms, we had UDL, Universal Design for Learning. And what that did was that made sure that if your brain worked in a different way, you were accommodated automatically. So what happened was when BCSC kids get to college, they all go, wait a minute, that's not the way this was.
Right.
So especially BCSC, they're very forward thinking. We do a lot of things right here that serve students because students are centered. In other places with other models of education, that's not always the case. And it's just something that we do well.
So I don't mean this as a joke. Like you didn't, whenever someone's like, I'm going to go homeschooled, you weren't like, oh, my job's in danger.
No. A lot of times when people would homeschool, they would do it, for social reasons. And until we really implemented a stronger response to things like bullying and, making sure that we had social supports within the school, I understood those reasons why. Generally, the kids would come back.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
How long did you notice a trend usually, how long it took?
Well, if you think about your parents, most parents really want to get rid of their kids, especially in high school, for a good part of the day.
Yeah.
And I think there's that factor. I mean, there's always people that, can do it and can handle it, and it's not a big deal. So I can think of 5 or 6 that homeschooled for a little while and came back. And I can think of others that never came back. So no, I don't think that the homeschool will really put public schools out of business unless, again, we have the money. Because right now, the way the vouchers work is if you homeschool, you keep that money. So there's a financial incentive now to homeschool.
That's wild to me.
Isn't it?
So like they're paying these parents essentially like they're went to college to be a teacher essentially.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
Well, they're paying them whatever their child's portion of
like their curriculum is.
What would go into the public education system? Yeah.
That's really interesting. Huh.
So yeah, it's and so as a public school teacher, I was held to all kinds of standards. Like I had to do lots of certain things to make sure that I was being a good, trustworthy public education teacher. Private schools don't have that. Homeschools don't have that. So theoretically, if a homeschool wanted to take their kid and just go to Disney World every day, they could. Or have them, not do anything or not do much. They could. Now, there's certain things that they have to do at the end, but it's not, there's no oversight for it.
Right. It's the Wild West, essentially.
Yeah. And so that's where we become in danger of losing our community education, like our overall level of education of the community. And we have seen in the last 20 years, the reading level of our communities have gone down. So we are seeing that.
At my work, we did have the homeschool kids come play basketball. And I will say I did notice they weren't as socially either aware or able to have conversations with people. I did notice.
And I mean, school is a social place.
Yeah.
So part of education isn't just the curriculum you're learning. So it's not just biology and math, and it's relationship building, it's solving problems, it's collaboration, it's all of those things that we graded you all on that were just one piece of that. So what did we have? We had collaboration. We had content, which is your subject. Then we had collaboration. We had public speaking, communication. We had agency, which is like how you learn to advocate for yourself and do what you need to do and own your own experience. And so when you're assessing those other things, and those are what's called the hidden curriculum, and that's a real thing, the hidden curriculum. It's all those things that are not the subject content. Like, can you make sure that you are somewhere on time? Can you make sure that you put your lunch tray in the right place? Can you make sure that if somebody makes you really angry, you can hold your emotions in check and respond appropriately? And that's a huge part of school.
Yeah, it really is. That I didn't realize that was also part of it.
Yeah, that's one of those little things that, but I mean, it makes sense.
It does make sense,
and
yeah.
That's why it's so important that we have early education for kids, like pre-K, because that starts in the home and then carries through us as kids grow up.
Well, that's very true. That's very exciting. And I never did compute that to me now.
Yeah.
Huh. What, is there any, like, things that they make you teach that you're like, why? I'm not trying, if you can't answer that. Like, is there anything like you look at this and you're like, I didn't sign up for this. I don't understand why they're making me teach this.
Not where I taught. I mean, we were a different kind of school. I did my student teaching at East, and it's a different setup. But again, it's not a truly traditional school because they have block schedule, they have large group, they have small group. It's more like college. There was really nothing that I thought wasn't valuable that we were teaching at New Tech or at East. And we taught so much more at New Tech than what I taught at East, because at East it was mostly just my subject. They had a different kind of advisory, but it only met like once a quarter. And so I went back and forth from New Tech to East and then back to New Tech.
Right.
So I had already seen the other way. So it was a little weird for me going, wait, you're not meeting every day? I'm not meeting
right.
Every day. Yeah. So I think there were so many things that we did right. And did I use advisory the way we were supposed to all the time? Probably not.
I don't think anyone did.
I don't either, because to us, it was our interpretation of, I mean, overall, yes, we accomplished what we needed to in advisory, but it was what our students needed. And that was the whole focus, it was student focused.
Right.
And that's the way we all, I think, we weren't all normal teachers.
No, I think in my experience with New Tech, there was never anybody I think that you'd traditionally say was normal.
Yeah, we were all sort of not rule followers.
No, you all seem like you want your own kind of trailblazers in a different way.
The run, hide, fight. Perfect example, right? We didn't get run, hide, fight for a while. We were run, hide, fight before it was run, hide, fight. When it was shelter in place and be really quiet, we were all like, we got 11 doors on this building, we're out of here.
It's mostly glass windows too.
Yeah.
So it's like, that wouldn't do any good. And
why? Because our students were saying, it's all windows.
Yeah.
This makes no sense. And we're all saying, you're right, it makes no sense.
Yeah, so that's very true. I had one question, I can't remember it. It's going to come back to me eventually, I hope. What would you say is your favorite thing about being a teacher?
Students.
The students? Is like your relationship with the students,
yeah.
Or you feel like you are?
I loved caring about students' lives, getting to know them. A lot of students had jobs at fast food restaurants, and I've never worked at one. And it just totally changed my whole view of what fast food is, because I had a perspective I had never seen before. I learned so much from my students. And I love that. I mean, I learned music.
Right.
I discovered all kinds of new music. You were always showing me new music.
Right.
And it's just things like that. It was just it was fun. It was really fun, and I do miss that because I've been out of the classroom now since 2018. I got a fellowship to Washington D.C. and I left who I had trained, my student teacher, in my place.
That's
And
exciting.
she did an amazing job and stayed, I think, for 4 more years. But they didn't have room for both of us.
Oh.
And I said, well, you need her more than you need me because I'm an over 50 white female, which there are hundreds of me teaching. And she was young and she had all of the same content skills I had, plus other skills that I couldn't have as a white female. So,
right.
Yeah, it was good.
What do you think of, this is not my question that I had, but what do you think of AI? Like, do you think AI is beneficial for students and everything? I know they said, I didn't read it, my girlfriend told me about it, but she said that teachers were having issues with students plagiarizing, I'm not using that word right, but because of them using AI.
Yeah. I think AI is going to be one of those things like our cell phones. Do you remember the cell phone battle?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you were in school, we had this battle of put it away and kids would sneak it, and put it away and kids would sneak it. And there was never, except for in my classroom, any way to say, okay, let's learn to use this responsibly. And I made a big deal out of resisting taking phones away because I said, when you get out in the real world, your boss isn't going to take your phone away. You may have a job where you have to put it in a locker, but if you're on the job and you have a phone, you're going to have to learn to do that job. And if your phone dings, leave it in your pocket.
Yeah.
And so that, to me, that was a bigger part of learning with cell phones. And I think AI is the same. I think it can be misused. I think they're seeing studies of brain activity where students use AI and their brain is not lighting up in the areas where when they're writing themselves.
What's making it not be super creative?
Yeah. And I think we'll lose a lot of human value that way. So I think this change is going to come swifter. But I think a lot of it's going to be forced down our throats by big business and billionaires. And right now, we're almost at that point where we have billionaires and the rest of us. There's a few in the middle still now. I think very shortly it's going to be billionaires and those companies and the rest of us. And when we reach that critical mass, the rest of us have to know how to push back against those billionaires and all of the AI. Because yes, it can make jobs easier and it can help people, but it can also replace people. And like you said, you lose creativity, you lose the thought processes, you lose. We don't want to be the people on Wall-E.
No, we don't want to do that.
No.
We don't. No.
But again, it's a tool. So if you have a learning disability, AI can be incredible because if you have trouble organizing your thoughts, or organizing something where you're like, I have all this stuff and I need to organize it, and it would take you like 16 days to do it. AI can do that very quickly for you, which is helping.
Yeah, my mom was talking about it at work. She said that she was utilizing AI to help her go through files. And I said, why are you doing that? And she goes, because what it takes me in 2 days, it does in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
She's like, so it just works.
We do have to be careful that it's accurate.
Right.
And we're seeing that AI is not always accurate.
Right.
And sometimes it's self-serving. And it's learned to be self-serving. I think there was one experiment or something they did where AI was lying to be able to get what would serve AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that. And then they said, what do you want us to do if we're getting ready to, I guess, kill you essentially or euthanize you? I don't know how you would really do it. I guess like hit it with a hammer, and then that's how you'd break an iPhone if you hit it with a hammer. So I don't know what you'd do with that, but it was starting to blackmail them.
Yes. Yeah. So I think we're realizing we're on an ethical slippery slope, and this is the importance of education, and this is the importance of public education, because you get that hidden curriculum of ethics and that philosophy of, how you do things. And people often think that morals are tied to religion, but they're actually not. They're tied to humanity, because we all know as humans, you don't kill one another. I mean, unless something's wrong with the person.
Right.
So we know this, and we have a sort of a natural moral sense about us as humans. And religion also uses those things. And I think what we're at risk of is losing that and losing what makes us uniquely human. But we don't have to. We can keep AI in its place, but it's going to have to be this 97% of us demanding that the 1%, and there's a couple percent in the middle, not use it to harm.
Right. Well, so I think the problem is it kind of made AI look cool.
Yeah.
Like, did any of your kids ever play like Halo?
A little bit.
So like,
I was the mom that unplugged the machines in the middle of the game.
oh no.
Right. And so, yeah, they have thanked me now. They're like, thank you for unplugging that, because I am not addicted to games and I'm out in the world. And yeah.
Right. I had that problem, and then I feel like I was just wasting, kind of. But so in like Halo, you're playing as a super soldier, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've literally got a little AI in your head, and it's just helping you, it's talking to you, it's your friend. Its name is Cortana. And so then it's opening doors for you. It's like, put me in this thing and I'll open this door for you, and I'll just stay in the system for a while and help you. And it's like they just made AI look super cool.
So I haven't played Halo for a while. It's probably been since 2009.
It's changed a little. It's not gotten any better.
Okay. Well, I would stand in the corner and look down and hide.
That's how my dad did it.
That was my whole philosophy of playing Halo. In fact, the day I got the call to come teach at New Tech, I was playing Halo.
Really?
I was hiding in the corner of, I don't remember what.
Just taking a call and hiding?
Yeah, I was hiding in the corner. I'm like, take care of that guy. Yeah.
That's really funny. I know this is my question I remembered. I know in other countries, they do tests with students, and they match essentially what your test score is with that student to the kind of job that they're going to do. They kind of set them up for that job. So it's like if you test higher in this, they're going to put you on track to possibly being a doctor. If you test lower, like your test grades aren't as good, maybe you'll be a construction worker. And it's like a C4 classes, is my understanding of it. I didn't dive super deep into it. You're nodding your head, so that makes me think I'm on the right track.
You are.
What do you think of that? Like, do you wish that we would kind of implement more of that? Or do you think that kind of stops the underdog from winning the day?
Are you the same person you were at age 12 to 14 when they give those tests?
I hope not.
There's your answer. So I think students learn and grow at different rates. And by restricting them to vocation based on one point in time in their performance, I think a lot of people aren't able to realize their full potential or do something that they want to do. Maybe you're the smartest person in the whole school. Maybe you don't want to be a doctor. Maybe you want to be a construction worker because you like to be outside and you just want to go swing a hammer.
Right.
And what we've done is we've put all of our vocations on a hierarchy so that one is better than another. And in reality, none of them are. Because a person who sweeps the floors at night and cleans the toilets is just as valuable as the CEO. And everybody has a role to play. And that person who's cleaning the toilets, as we've seen in many movies and many TV shows, is often a very, very, very brilliant person. But maybe they don't want all that. So I think giving students and people agency over choices of what they want to do. And we have certain things where you have to test into or you have to perform at a certain level or know certain things to be able to move into a career path. That's one way that's decided for you already. And I think putting something else in there, that's why our American educational system was the envy of the world, because we didn't have that, and everybody had the same chance. And I think that that equality is important, because we have what's called social movement. So you can, in a public education system, you can come from the family that has the least in the town, and you can graduate at the top of the class.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. It's just based on what you want to do, how you work, how you don't work. And there's that opportunity there. Now, there are lots of other things that feed into that and make it possible and not as possible. But there's always that opportunity there. And if you want to go back to school at age 29 and finish your high school diploma, there shouldn't be anything stopping you from that. And if you're put on a track where you're always told that these are your choices, then you're losing your agency, and you may not be able to develop that back. I mean, I went back to school at age 50 to get my doctorate.
Right. And
I wasn't supposed to be college material.
Is that what you were told?
Yeah.
Who told you that?
A guidance counselor. But another one, actually I think she was a dean, took me aside after hearing that, and she's like, you can go if you want. And I think that's public education. It's, you can go if you want. What do you want to do? So.
Do you think there's a special kind of personality to be a teacher? Because I know people that did become teachers, and I asked them, so you like kids? No, I hate kids. It's like, why are you going to be a teacher?
I think there's people that teach for all kinds of reasons. All kinds of. I mean, I went into teaching because I needed health insurance, I needed a schedule, and I loved the subject, and they needed teaching.
Right.
It wasn't anything I thought I was ever going to do, because I was like, oh, I don't want to be a teacher. But again, so what if in that track I had been placed in, go be a factory worker? Okay, I can tell you, I worked one summer on a factory floor. And I was fired.
Oh.
The only time I was ever fired was my dad that fired me. Because I was trying to change their systems. Right? Yeah. So sometimes you don't know what you want to do. I was 37 when I started teaching. So I didn't know that. And I loved it. So, I did some substitute teaching long term for a middle school teacher. And that's when I was like, I think I could do this. And then we lost our store, and it was like, well, what can I do? Oh, I kind of like that. So I don't see any reason why anybody should be stuck in one career, unless they want to be.
Yeah, what was it? It was the guy that made KFC. He didn't make that until he was, what, like 67, he said?
There's a lot of people that did stuff later.
Yeah, so I think that my problem is, being in my 20s, you feel like you are old enough to have it together, but you're also, I'm blissfully aware that I shouldn't, and it's okay that I don't. But like I said, I feel like I'm old enough that it's like, why am I not doing this? Why does none of this make sense? And then I ask people older than me, I ask people at my work, I'm like, when does this start to make sense? And they go, you fake it till you make it.
You just keep faking it. I mean, really, you do. And you can look at things and say, you know what? This isn't working for me. Let's go here. Or you do something and you get this other opportunity and you're like, oh, I like that better.
Right.
And so there's nothing wrong with that. And unfortunately, we've tried to shove people in boxes because that's what corporate America wants us to do.
Right.
They want us in boxes, and they want us to do what they want us to do because they can get maximum profit from us this way. If we all had universal health care, like universal health care, we would see, and I can't remember the numbers, rates of entrepreneurship go way up, because most people are tied to a job they hate because they have to pay a mortgage, and they have to have health insurance. And if you take one of those out, which right now we're taking housing out, but not for the right reasons, just making it too expensive for anybody to have houses.
Tell me about it.
If you took that healthcare piece out, and universal healthcare means everybody paying into a system where everybody's covered, so that we don't have people using GoFundMe to live.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous in our world today. Then we could have creative people, and we could have a richer life. We could have people who are doing things that they value and that would value our community, would give back to our community and add value to our community.
Yeah. I feel like our community, I think our specific community here, there is a lot of super artistic people here that have been lucky enough to make it a job. But then, like you said, there's a majority of the people that are just, they're stuck in that job, and they hate it. They hate that job, but they have to keep going because they've got this bill to pay. They've got insurance. It's like it just takes one little inconvenience to not ruin your life, but definitely screw your life up significantly.
Yeah. Most Americans and most people who live in Indiana, especially because we're one of the lowest quality of life states in the United States, are 1 to 4 paychecks away from losing everything. Most people. And that's scary.
It's scary.
It is very scary. So last night, or night before last, I ran into a young man who was sitting in the misting rain, shivering. And it was about 9:30. So I rolled my window down and I said, "Hey, are you okay?" And he said, eyes were really wide. And he says, "Oh, yeah." And I was like, "Are you sure?" So I talked to him a little bit. He didn't have anywhere to sleep. He's fully employed. He has a place to put his stuff, but he has nowhere to sleep. So I think somebody came and got him, and he found a place to sleep that night. But I put him back in contact with a job training network that he had been part of before. And that community that he had built before, he was afraid to go back to them. But I put him back in touch because it had been 7 or 8 years. I put him back in touch with somebody who remembered him, and they're working on, getting him set up with a place to live and a place to sleep. And this is the reality of most people under 40 today, that not very long they can be out on the street. A parent dies, a grandparent dies, they're out on the street. A spouse dies, they're out on the street. A kid gets sick and it takes a lot of their money, they're out on the street because working and trying to take care of somebody doesn't mix.
Right.
So you lose paychecks. So I think we're in these precarious positions where the 97% of us really need to band together to take care of each other and stop whatever is going on that as the 1 to 2% are telling us to fight each other for. And I think that's just hugely important. Public education is the basis of that. That's the foundation of where we build community from.
Right. And then I don't feel like I see as much. I agree with you on all that. It's not good at all. I hope the world changes, because me and my girlfriend, we're raising like 3 girls, and it's not easy at all nothing's easy. Like if you go out to eat, it's like it's like to go to McDonald's now, it's like $50.
Yeah.
Can
you imagine if you didn't have your family in town?
Oh, it'd be a lot worse.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're going to fast forward a little bit. So you said that you were in Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. So tell us what you were doing in Washington, D.C.
So I was what's called an Einstein Distinguished Educated Fellow. Distinguished Educator Fellow, sorry. And it's a program that takes science teachers from the classroom into different areas of government, either National Science Foundation, NASA, Capitol Hill with the U.S. House and U.S. Senate, the Library of Congress, there's a Navy NAVC. So there's different organizations in Washington, D.C. that will take teachers in there and use the teacher skills to help them with whatever they need, and then let teachers develop skills in whatever they're doing. I was selected as one of 5 to go to Capitol Hill. So I spent a year learning how to write legislative policy, learning how policy works and how it can work for people instead of work against people, like the big, beautiful bill.
Right.
Like instead of cutting things, we can actually write policy that helps people. And when I learned that, it was like, the emoji where the head is exploding.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. Pretty quickly. I ended up writing a bill. That bill passed. That was very exciting. And then I learned nobody writes bills that pass because very few bills ever pass.
Right. Oh, so you were like a minority then with that. That's super exciting.
But they didn't tell me that to begin with, so I didn't know.
Oh, that's exciting.
So it was really, really kind of fun. And I was like, well, okay, so this is what needs to be done. And I spent a year studying what was going on. And I was in the Science Space Technology Committee and listening to people come and testify over different bills and different policies and things like that. And looking for the pieces of conversation that they had that I also saw in my classroom where there were holes in our society. And what good policy does is it fills those holes so there's no gaps. So when you've got people who have to work at age 14 to help their parents pay the bills, that's a gap for good policy to fill in. When you have people who have to use GoFundMe for healthcare, that's a gap where good policy can fill in. And so I realized that I'm really good at finding those holes and filling them because science is about pattern recognition.
Right.
And that's what this is. And I loved it. And I was like, well, this is what I want to do. Why the PhD? Because NASA wanted to hire me, but I didn't have a PhD.
Really?
Yeah.
That would have been like a massive, wow.
Yeah. Although I probably wouldn't have a job today.
Well, so you would have went from mattresses to teaching to DC to NASA.
Yeah, but I didn't have a PhD. They thought I did. And as soon as I told them I didn't, they're like, we can't hire you. Oh, talk about a pin in your balloon.
Oh my goodness.
So I was like, does it matter what it's in? And they're like, no. But you have to have it because the things you learn when you get it is what we need.
That's
and now
wild.
that I have it, I understand.
I just saw a thing that they said they were learning how this woman was working for NASA and she was growing algae in space.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that is wild. Why do you need algae in space?
Well, there's lots of reasons, actually.
I'm assuming it's so that you can see like things like a living organism.
Well, an algae can be used as biofuel.
Oh, that's super interesting.
There's all kinds of applications.
Well, that's fascinating.
So I got to see when I was there. There's a program called ARPA-E, and it's research, and it's like tech research. So I got to see the little rover. It looks like a little vacuum cleaner that's going to go around and drill the core samples on Mars.
Oh, that's awesome.
I had a few questions for them.
I bet you did.
Things that they had never thought of because I'm an anthropologist and an archaeologist, and I've drilled holes in really hard rocks.
The library is closing in 19 minutes.
This is going to be really fun. All right, so I guess on that note, we need to probably wrap this up.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you would like to leave us with closing thoughts, closing remarks?
I'm really excited that you're doing this. I'm sorry I never got to your stand-up, but I was writing every day for 6 years. So.
No, I get it. That I don't think that's done yet. I think that's still got a lot more.
Oh, good.
I'm not finished yet. I think this might just help me with more ideas.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we could do this.
Yeah.
I think that this went pretty good. I'll definitely have you on again if you want to do it.
Absolutely. Let me know.